Continuing where we left off, we're talking about the Middle Stone Age in Ethiopia as people left the Omo area where mitochondria Eve was found. And I wanted to show these Middle Stone Age sites. One is Gadamoto and the other is Kukuleti. I can't find Kukuleti, doesn't show up on Google Earth, so it's near Gadimoto. So I'll just show that one. And these are dated from 230,000 years ago to 140,000 years ago. And like I was saying, they are they collected obsidian, they collected opals. There's this assemblages have several obvious similarities with Omo Kabish industry, showing a northeastern route of migration from Omo River into Ethiopia. So let's just take a look at that real quick. So Gadimoto, Ethiopia is this blue place marker here, and over here to the left or west you see Omo National Park, and just south of that you have Lake Turkana right here. So we've been talking a lot about Lake Turkana and its importance, and then you see how they kind of move north into Omo, and then now they're spreading east into Ethiopia. And then this is Middle Stone Age, where they're collecting obsidian rock and then Ethiopian opals of different color. And then Omo over here you have the DNA of mitochondria Eve, the earliest DNA. Okay, and then continuing where we left off, I should have added this paragraph to my last video, but I didn't, so just bear with me while I read it real quick. There was far more promiscuity long ago than there is today, and it is quite possible that the mitochondrial Eve women's children had several different fathers, and quite possible that the father remained and took care of the children, or perhaps he did not. According to Albert Churchwood, the father was unknown because the males of two adjacent tribes or family tribes who split would have free reign on the pubescent and older females from the other tribe, making the father of her children unknown for certainty. Men from outside were allowed into a tribe of which a female was usually the head of the tribe, and all of her children would remain a part of that tribe for the rest of their lives. The men allowed in would of course help to birth children and grow the family tribe. Okay, now moving on, we talked about up here where hippos were found at Omo. Hippo remains have been found at the KHS site found at Omo, according to Shia. Okay, he's an author of one of my sources. And the hippo is an Egyptian standard. Okay, so hippos are found at Omo, and then hippos are also found inside the ecosystem of Lake Turkana. Hang on one second. I have to let my dog in or she'll just keep scratching at the door. So the hippo is a standard, like a tribal is one of the tribal standards in Egypt, which is why I'm bringing this up, so we can kind of try to get an origin of where these Egyptian ideas are coming from. And right, so they're coming from earlier peoples who eventually moved into Egypt. And we see that hippos are found at Lake Turkana, they're found at Omo. Okay, so they have existed for hippos have existed for at least 20 million years on or more on Earth. They are mammals and mostly plant eaters. Most of Africa has them. Hippos may give us a sense of where the ancestors of Ra and Horus came from, since the goddess Nut, who is Ra's mother, is said to come from the Hippo Clan. Read below. Horus of Edfu, the great warrior Christ, is famous for standing on his boat, dressed like his followers, and driving a long spear into the head of a hippopotamus beneath the boat with his right hand, and holding the monster in restraint with the double chains in his left hand. The goddess Ta-Urt, whose husband was a Horus god, and her husband was a high priest of Ra, and had a son named Heru P. Cart. Notice the car in the name. We talked about this earlier. It's a word of Christ, and it's found all over Africa. And gave birth to him in the temple of Head and Nut in Hermonthis in the building Kemkem, and was worshipped under the form of a hippopotamus. Since I haven't seen Horus iconography with the hippo in the dynastic period, I would assume that these would be pre-dynastic characteristics found at Hermonthis. That's the city of Thoth, right? Hermes, Thoth. That's the Greek name. When Heru pierced the hippo under his boat, Ast, who's Isis, helped, an equivalent of Isis. Isis is the Greek name, I believe. Helped hold the chains. Horus or Heru is also seen standing on the back of a hippo tied up. When Heru killed the hippo, Thoth applauded because he had made use of the formula found in the Book of Slaughter of the hippopotamus. As we can see so far, the hippopotamus tribe or clan must have been an enemy of the tribe or clan that Heru and his father Ra were from, or they gave him a reason to become an enemy. This would seem logical because the goddess Ta-Urt is the god Set's wife, is seen in the form of a hippo. Whatever it was about the hippo, it was enough for Thoth to have to create a book on how to kill them. Heru is seen standing on the backs of hippopotami, usually as proof of conquering his enemies. He also is seen doing this with crocodiles, two animals that can attack from under the water. So they must have killed the hippos and it's kind of like an analogy or a comparison, the way that they use their mythology as hippos and crocodiles as their enemy, probably because they killed some people, and they always remembered it, right? Like their family members got killed by hippos or got killed by crocodiles, and they always remembered that, and they put that into their mythologies. He also seen doing this, I already said that, when the great mother goddess Nut gave birth, she said Ass, which means behold, not ASSAS, which means behold, I have become your mother, which was the origin of the name Isis. And that's per Wallace Budge, as is the same as Ast and of Aset, all names of Isis, just like Heru is called Horus. Of course, names change in different languages. but the earliest forms did not have any vowels. Hor is the same as HR and the same as heart. The mother and her child, with the mother saying, "My son is my heart." She named him after her heart because he held her heart dearly. Nut was also known as the goddess Nupt, who gave birth to her sister Nephlis in the city Het Seshesh, also known as the goddess Nupt, who gave birth to her sister Nephlis in the... That's a repeat. I'm sorry about that. I gotta delete that. Where she was regarded as the form of the goddess Apet or Api, who is the same as the hippopotamus god Ta-Urt. So we can see the relationship here to the hippopotamus from the women, it looks like. So Horus and Ra are looking like their enemy became this hippo tribe led by these women, Ta-Urt, Isis, and so forth. And we remember from the myth of Ra that Isis put a snake in the path of Ra. Therefore, we can see that both Isis and Nephlis are very ancient, and this is the reason why they stand with Ra and his boat. Churchwood, in his book on the origins of religion, speaks of the Mother Earth goddess Ta-Urt as being the first goddess. Hathor is a form of her, and Api is the hippopotamus goddess, which Bud says is very ancient. The great mother Nut and the hippo of the Hippo tribe or clan, and her daughter Isis, were highly regarded, more so than the rest of her 5 children. Fraser says that the Bakala in western Equatorial Africa believed that their women once gave birth to the totem animals. Not only was the great Earth Mother symbolically portrayed as a hippo, but the god Set was as well. Even more confusing is that Bud says that the chief opponent of the god Set was the hippopotamus goddess Ra-Ret, who had arms and hands of a woman but a body of a hippo, and she holds 2 knives. I imagine that if we parallel this to the joining of the families of the north and the south of Egypt, we can see this as an earlier joining of 2 tribes or clan, that of Set's with that of Ta-Urt's, through a marriage ceremony union between the 2 as a truce. Right, Set was originally an ally of Ra, a son of Ra, right? And he later became evil. Maybe because of his marriage with this family, which is, I think, becomes evil, which is why you see Eve, why some people say Eve enticed Adam to eat the fruit. I think this is really the true story of that. Maybe we can go over it again. So let's see. Fraser, in his book Totemism and Exogamy, says that some tribes thought that the women gave birth to the totem animal, or that they descended from the animal. At Omo, where the Eve fossils were found at the KHS site, which stands for Kamoya's Hominid Site, and is found just north and on the eastern side of the Omo River, hippopotamus remains have been found. I said that earlier. Early Egypt was divided into clans, and each clan or several clans each occupied a nome or a district within Egypt. Each clan had its own standard and god or goddess that represented their family and close associates. According to the author Nasimbi, many clan names which these tribes go by came from old proverbs which are well known, nicknames, occupations, places, features of the earth, weapons, animals, food, and from main houses of patriarchal families. It is important to remember here that totems or Egyptian standards are not only animals. He is speaking of the clans within Uganda. Fraser says that there is a hippopotamus clan in Senegal and Gambia to keep track of its kin. Therefore, a child can always be distinguished by its animal symbol. The Bakala in western Equatorial Africa also had a Hippo Clan. And Fraser also says that totemism in the beginning combined the religion of the totem, which was the mutual respect and protection between a man and his totem, and social system, which was the family ties to the totem. There's a lot there. This is a very important section of my work that explains where we can see origins of totemism before it moves into Egypt. We can maybe see the origins of the family of Ra and Horus here and Set. And let's go ahead and stop there. Thank you for listening.